Okay, guys, let's do it. Okay. So, basically, up until now, Emily, I feel like I was saying, I feel like she's starting to feel bad because she's like, listen, first I was so wild about Tony, and now I'm so wild about Travis. I'm so wild about Travis, and Travis wild about me. All right. But yeah, I feel like it's a consequence to them having this disconnect. So they have this disconnect, and she's fantasizing about these different people because she needs affection, and he's not giving it to her. And I think that's because he's too spooked, and he's talking to Stan and seeing visions and all this craziness. So, in all fairness, he's going through a lot. But okay, chapter 28. Emily was down in the basement, pulling clothes that had been cleaned out of the washer and sticking them into the dryer. Several times down there, she would keep reflecting on what Tony had mentioned about another door in the basement. Every time she is in the basement, she ignores her curiosity, realizing that he is a part of her imagination, a lust she desires to be authentic to satisfy her needs. Not to mention, since that day, nothing else was said about a doorway in the basement. However, on this day, Emily decided to have a look-see. Curiosity, why do I feel like this is not just us reading this? Why do I feel like this is Brady reading the book? Why do I feel like this is the 4th book series? And we're reading it like Brady's reading it. Curiosity was finally winning the battle, and she wanted to end this rather than keep it boiling inside her mind constantly. Searching around the basement, she found nothing. She slid a few shelves to the side and looked behind them. She continued to search until she heard footsteps coming down the steps leading into the basement. Emily would hurry to place a few things back, and while doing so, she could hear Brady calling out her name. Then he finally spotted her putting things away, looking like she was cleaning and straightening things up. "Hey baby, what's up?" she said, playing it off well, looking as if she had stopped cleaning to see what he was calling her for. Brady stood there almost speechless for a moment, his eyes watching her like a hawk. "Watching you like a hawk in the sky," while his eyes peered around the room, studying what she was doing. "I was going to ask you if you cared to walk with me in the woods." No. "I thought we could use some fresh, cool mountain air." "Nope, you could use some fresh, cool mountain air. I'm not going out there with you." "Yeah, sure. I could use some air. I'll be right up as soon as I am done putting away some things," she replied. He looked at her and smiled before he turned and headed back up the steps. Emily turned her head back and looked behind her briefly before placing her attention back on the steps that led up from the basement. "I know that was close, yet it will be known soon," she said, as though she were answering someone who may have said something to her first. Or could she be talking to herself? Brady and Emily were dressed warmly while outside, walking down the trails that go through the woods. They held hands while walking, with many things filling their minds about the other, yet neither of them would confess to the other that they were thinking. "Nice and cool today. I figured getting out of the house can do us both some good," Brady spoke. "Always good to be outside," she responded. They were trying to spark a conversation, yet both their minds were troubled about one another or about something bothering them. "I am almost finished reading the 3rd book," she said. Brady stops walking, pauses as though thinking of something to say. Emily stops walking and looks back at him, trying to figure out what he is doing and why he released her hand so quickly. You okay? She asked. After staring at the ground for a moment, as though he was searching for the words to say, he looks up and stares at Emily with a confused expression. Third book? What third book? He finally asked. Your bestseller series, she responded. She replied. She waited for him to say something else, yet he continued looking at her, bewildered by what she said. The Novelist and the Lake House books, she addressed. That's impossible. I'm writing the third book now. How can you be reading the third book, if I'm writing the third book? He asked. The tone of his voice had changed throughout his speech, and he sounded agitated, as though the problems he was having with writing his upcoming novel were now being blamed on her. What are you talking about? You wrote 3 books for that series, and you are supposed to be working on the 4th book. 4th book? She explained. That's why I've been having problems with my writing. You have been going behind my back and changing my writing. You've cost me a lot of time, and my ideas are running thin because you went behind my back and changed my words, screwing up my work, he cried. Emily was confused watching Brady snap, seeing how his demeanor changed like the direction of the wind. His attitude changed so abruptly, like the change in the tide. I have never touched your book, Emily claimed. Yet Brady did not believe her. Oh boy. Let's see. Ooh. Let's see. So basically, he's losing his mind. He, for whatever reason, because I remember Stan was like, you don't remember that you've written this? So something is wrong, because why is he forgetting this? Because if that's the case, if he doesn't remember the 3rd book, then that means that Cindy never happened? Does that mean that, like, Cindy never existed? Like, because surely he went with, well, what y'all think? It's just kind of unusual. All right, let's see. I've had to make countless changes, seemingly every day. My book has been tampered with. I blamed everything but you, and now I see that you are the one to blame. You are responsible, he said. Brady, I have never touched your book, Emily cried out before Brady called her a liar. I feel like he's about to get violent, because every time he calls somebody a liar, violence is somewhere close by. Brady called her a liar, and he smacked her across the face with the back of his hand. Do I know Brady or what? Causing her to fall to the ground. She sat on the ground, holding her face where he smacked her. She looked up and saw how lost his eyes were. He looked so lost, as though he had no clue where he was or who he was. Before he left, he said nothing to her, but muttered words that she could not quite make out while he stormed off, leaving her alone on the trail in the woods. If this really happened this time, remember last time we thought that he really did and it didn't. If this is really happening, she needs to leave. Emily stood up to her feet, removing her hand from where he smacked her across the face, leaving a red mark in its place. She suddenly felt the urge to smile before she slightly turned her head back to look behind her as though someone was standing there. Fuck the book. Time to end this thing. she said, speaking as though someone were listening to her. She stares back into the direction in which Brady had stormed off while she rubbed a spot on her face where he struck her. What? She again smiles while lustfully licking her lips. The harder the better, she says, in a way as though she were replying to something someone had said to her. Maybe she is talking to somebody. Brady rushes into his office where he does his writing, goes over to the computer, and checks what has been written. Nothing he is reading looks familiar to him. He has no memory of writing down the things he saw. What the hell is going on? Why would she lie about tampering with my book? Okay, the real question is, sir, why are you hitting her? That's the real question. Stan enters the room and leads into the doorway. He shakes his head with disappointment and a look of unsettling news about to be told. Stan, what the hell is going on? Why has she been tampering with my book? I warned you. I warned you not to bring her here. Brady gives Stan this dirty look while leaning over the computer, scrolling down, trying to find something in the book that he wrote, something that was familiar to him. Everything that he was reading was nothing compared to what he had written. Brady backs away from the computer with his attention on Stan across the room, leaning in the doorway. Make sense, will you? Brady shouted. Stan knew what Brady was feeling. He knew what Brady was about to discover would change everything. What do you know that you're not telling me? Brady asked. He could see it in Stan's eyes. The hesitance of telling him. The look he was giving told Brady he knew more than he was letting on. I tried telling you initially, yet you would not listen. You were so head over heels for her. But who could blame you? She's beautiful and very loving, and the sex is amazing. I even went about it differently to get your attention about everything. Do you remember the time when I was hanging out with her? Having with her? All that was to help you open your eyes, but you saw it differently. I gave you so many hints, Stan explained. You still aren't making any sense to me. Just come on out with it, damn it, Brady demanded. I warned you not to bring her here because when you do, everything would change, and for the first time, your eyes are open. Do you think meeting her was by accident? Do you think falling in love with her was an accident? Everything that has happened for a reason, and everything you've done is because Stan pauses, hesitates to finish, and Brady can see it. He knows he is procrastinating. Brady puts his hands in the air with the look of telling Stan to get on with it, to stop pausing and get on with what needs to be said. He didn't have to say anything for Stan to know he was becoming impatient and ready for Stan to finish. Just read the book and return and read the other just read the book and return and read the other books on the shelf. It's all clear. Whoa, where do you think you're going? Stan quickly spins around and eyes Brady with a look of anger and disappointment. Damn it, you son of a bitch. Don't you make me do it. I do not want to be the one to tell you the truth. I have done all I can without telling you because I do not want to be the one who tells you. Stan nearly shouted. Tell me what? Brady asked, looking confused as ever. He was becoming very annoyed with how Stan kept trying to avoid telling him whatever it was that needed to be said. Just look at the book on the computer and scroll to the top. If you don't believe what you see, then head over to the bookshelf and see furthermore that you will undoubtedly not believe. Stan shouted. To settle what it is Stan was trying to tell him, in other words, instead of just coming out with it, Brady plays along and scrolls to the top of the first page on the computer, where he finds the title of his book, He finds Emily's name. Emily's name is under it. The hell is this? Brady asked, looking away at the computer and staring at Stan, who stood across from the room with a look of disappointment all over his face. Brady knew something was off. He could see how Stan was acting, and it was almost terrifying for him to see that. Why is her name under the title? Brady asked. Stan, with no reply, turned his back to Brady. Stan, I'm asking you a question, Brady said. Still no reply. Stan rather pointed across the room towards the bookshelf with his back facing Brady. Unsure as to why Stan is acting this way, Brady decides to humor them both and walk over to look at the books on the shelf. He started with the first book of his best-selling book series, and from there, with each book he'd pick up, he'd drop to the floor after flipping through pages, and with a look of disbelief turning into doubt. And from doubt, his look was turning to fear with each book he checked through and would drop it to the floor. Nothing in the books looked familiar. None of the writing matched what he remembered writing. And where it had the author's name, Emily's name was in its place. Even her pictures about the author were shown, not his. Nor could he find his name on any of the books. Why is hitting women so normalized that he's not even thinking like, oh man, I hit her, oh man. Like he's not even thinking that. He's moved on. To try to figure out what's going on with this book. I feel like he cares more about the book than anybody else. You know what I mean? Because, let's see. Let's see. Brady drops the last book to the floor. He focuses across the room at Stan, who now faces him with a look of hurt all over his face, as though he never wanted Brady to know, but knew it was time he needed to know. She is a witch. She is a witch, isn't she? Brady asked. Stan chuckles. I have called her that upon occasion. Hell, who knows? Maybe she is. Okay, so you didn't even know that she was Stan? You just calling her that just cause? Honestly, I have often wondered if it could be possible. It would explain a few things about her, Stan responded. This isn't real. Somehow, one of you is fucking with my mind. I've noticed since coming back here now, I have become forgetful. How I've been struggling with writing and how I keep seeing things, Brady explained. Sorry, but it's not the way you think it is. Everything that has happened to you was pre-thought out. It was planned from the get-go. It was time she wanted to put this thing out for good. It was all her ideas. I just went with the flow, Stan explained. Makes sense, will you? I don't understand all this riddle crap you keep shoveling. Stan can see it in Brady's eyes, the confusion, the mystery that is surrounding him right now. All this time, and he had not once figured anything out. He had yet to understand it all, to know why he is here and why everything that has happened was planned from the beginning. Before Stan could speak, he could see the sweat dripping from Brady's forehead. He was sweating something fierce, and Stan knew it was not from being too warm inside the house. It was because Brady was fighting what he was discovering, and he hadn't learned the full-on truth yet, and that is what was bothering Stan the most. If he's sweating over the beginning, what will happen when the full truth is exposed? Well, to put it bluntly, as you are now aware, Stan points downward at the books that Brady had thrown to the floor. You are not the writer. Emily is the writer. Now prepare for the part that will hurt you the most. You are not who you think you are. His memory's getting worse and worse. I bet you don't remember anything past related here. Like Tanya, Cheryl, Dwayne, Tony, or Travis. Do any of those other names ring a bell? Stan asked. Brady stood there, bewildered by those names. He kept searching in his mind, yet he found nothing but blank. His mind was like a book. Only the words were being erased, as though the book had been changed. We better hurry before everything slips away from your mind and into darkness. There is a room down here that you have hidden away. A room where you collected items from those you murdered in the past. You even wrote about it in those books. Well, not so much as to explain it being a room, but in the books you mention how Stan takes an item after killing his victims. Stan explained. Stan could see how Brady's eyes went big when he mentioned he had murdered them. He knew his memories were almost completely wiped out. It was just a matter of time before he would be wiped away from memory. Like dust in the wind. Dust in the wind. Instead of explaining it to Brady, he decided to show him the room. Ooh, we can see his room filing. After clearing away some items to get into a high shelf in the room, the door was hidden behind the shelf. And when Stan opened the door so they could both walk in, even Stan was shocked to find what was inside the room after turning on the light inside. It was a small room, much like the size of your average American jail cell. Inside the room, there were supposed to be items taken from the victims and stored inside this room instead of what Stan himself was seeing. Brady could see the look on Stan's face, and even he was surprised by what he was seeing. I thought you knew what was in this room, Brady asked. Stan walks around the room. The room is average. It is a normal room painted white, but instead of seeing items that Brady had collected over the years from victims he killed, over obsession or anger, he finds painted portraits of the victims alive and dead. Why are you looking as though you are surprised by what you are seeing? Painted portraits. Emily paints, and she paints portraits. So what if Emily's the one that's actually been killing these people? But what if Emily... Okay, so Emily can't... Okay, so what if Emily's the one actually doing all this, but she's making Stan this fake character and Brady this fake character? What if Brady is just the character that she hides behind? But no, it can't, because otherwise, why would he be in Florida signing autographs? He has to be a real person. He was in Florida. He has a manager. Unless all of this is not real and Emily made this whole thing up. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I made some changes over the years to this room, Emily said upon entering the room behind Brady and said, "He's imagining this again." Stan turned and looked at her with a surprised expression. He was unsure how she did this without him knowing, and just like that, she knew exactly what he was thinking without him having to speak a word to her. "You aren't supposed to know everything about me or why I do things a certain way. I only allow you to know what I desire you to know," she explained. Brady checked over the artwork throughout the room. There were painted pictures of Dwayne alive and dead, the same for Tony and Travis, and the same for Tanya and Cheryl and Cindy. Oh, she's a serial killer. Emily turns her attention from Stan and places it on Brady, walking around the room and examining the paintings. "I have been practicing for quite some time." Not as good as I had portrayed myself to you. You were told I painted art and made art for a living when, in fact, I am an author. Emily explained. This is impossible. I remember writing those books. I'm starting to remember my past visits here. My ex-girlfriends, Brady said, fighting with his mind to remember who he was and why he was there. It was weird how suddenly the memories were returning to him. Stan was now the one looking confused, placing his attention on both Brady and Emily, trying to figure out what was going on. Nothing was going according to the plan of how things were mapped out to him. Emily looks over and sees Stan's face. We authors are very well known for changing our minds at the last second or writing down our ideas. Sorry, I'm not keeping you in the full loop, she said. What the hell are you up to? Stan asked. With a smirk on her face, Emily quickly responded sarcastically. Oh, I'm just being witchy, she chuckled before focusing on Brady. I'm sorry it has come to this. You were exactly what I needed to get through my writing slumps as I struggled to write a bestseller. Finally, it happened years ago when I brought the first man I thought I was in love with and thought he was in love with me too. While she spoke, her mind wandered off to old memories of the past with Dwayne, okay, the first man from the first book. In her memories, she could see the times they had together dancing, candlelit dinners by the lake, late nights on the beach, their times out by the ocean on the sailboat, and the incredible they had together. Her happy memories were the ones where her obsession with him took over, where she kept watching him, spying on him, and blaming him and Tanya for having an affair. After she had killed Tanya, talk about Tanya. Okay, so wait. So after she had killed Tanya, let's see. Lost my spot. After she had killed Tanya and he found out about it, he finally came clean and explained to her the issues he'd had his whole life. He was never going to be accepted by his family for being gay, nor by his closest friends, so he hid that life and tried to live a straight man's life with Emily. Tanya was the only friend he had who knew and understood, but Emily's jealousy and obsession with Dwayne drowned her mind with impulsive behavior. She could see how it all happened in her mind. Even after she killed Dwayne and found his journal where he had written about his hidden life. Whew. He's got to be imagining this because there's no way. I mean, is it? Because Brady's got to be a real person. Again, he had it. Well, it depends because I feel like, what if she really is the author of all these books and he's a figment of her imagination? And basically, what if she is Stan? Like, instead of us thinking that Brady and Stan were the same person, what if she's the same person? Ha ha ha. All right, so this is part 1 of chapter 20, is it what, 29? 28. This is part 1 of chapter 28. Be sure to catch me for part 2 of chapter 28. 'Cause, wow, this is insane. Whew, okay, I'll see y'all next time, y'all. Let's get it in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Let me know in the comments if you think that this is him imagining things again. Let me know. Okay. See y'all next time. Peace.